Hello everybody, this is Tammy with Autistic Wiki. So today I'm doing number 8, diagnosis. So I'm getting diagnosed. So I am answering this from the perspective of an adult, late diagnosis for an adult because that's my situation. I was so so when I first started to suspect that I was autistic, I searched online to see what others thought about getting diagnosed as an adult, like whether it's worth it, whether there's any benefit to it, that sort of thing. And overall, the consensus was that diagnosis really only helps a child, not so much an adult, because children have more. There's more programs and things to help children, whereas there's really not that much support in the way of adults. So it's kind of like if you've made it to adulthood, there's kind of no point in getting a diagnosis because there's nothing that anybody can help you with anyway, so what's the point? And it costs a lot of money, it's not covered by insurance. With the kids, it's usually covered by insurance. So overall, a lot of the people just said that it's not really worth it. So I thought about that for a couple of years, and then I just decided that, you know what, I want to know either yes or no what is going on with me, and if this is what it is, then hey, I'll pay a couple $1,000s. It costs a lot of money to find out. So I went for my assessment. I have to say that was the best thing that I've ever done in my life. Getting assessed was absolutely 100% worth it for me. It's true that there aren't really any like programs and stuff. Like they kind of recommend, oh, you should go look for like local autism groups in your area and go to like group, I don't know, group therapy, or just go to groups and meet other autistic people and stuff like that. So there wasn't really much in the way of what they could do to help me. It did open the door to things like in school or at work. If I need accommodations for something, having the diagnosis allows me to request accommodations, whereas without that diagnosis, it's kind of, I think it would be kind of hard to get. I don't know if it would be hard or not. I guess I don't know. I never tried it before. I just always assumed that you have to have the diagnosis in order to get accommodations. I guess now that I say that, I don't know if it's actually true or not. But for me, accommodations aside, for me what really made a difference was it answered that burning question that has haunted me my entire life. And that is, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why am I such a freak? Why do I feel like I'm an alien on this planet and I don't belong here? Why are simple things so fucking hard for me? Why do I always feel like I'm going crazy? So getting a diagnosis finally put an answer to all of these questions. It was that big aha moment that just suddenly made my whole life make sense. And it took away a lot of stress and a lot of anger and frustration and confusion. It didn't completely take it away, but it helped to deal with it and made it a lot easier. So getting diagnosed, it let me know that life wasn't hard because I was lazy or stupid, which is what I've kind of been told my whole life is the reason I can't do things is because I'm lazy and stupid. I found out by getting diagnosed that that's not true. Life is hard because it is legitimately hard for people like me. So it's not that anything I'm doing wrong, it's just that because of the way I was made, this world is designed to support people with a different neurotype. So it is going to be hard for me, and that's just the way it is. Just knowing that was huge. I can't even tell you, just knowing that was huge. It also let me know that I'm not actually a freak, because I mean my whole life I felt like a freak, and of course people always tell me that I'm a freak. But it just let me know that I'm just different compared to the majority. I was made differently. And not only that, but there's others out there that are like me. So it's not just me, there's people out there. I have people. And now that I know their name, I can find them, and I can come home to my people. That, if you've never been different, I can't tell you how huge that is. In magic, there's this teaching that if you know a thing's name, you can have control over it. A lot of times it's often referred to in reference to like controlling demons and energies and stuff like that. But it really applies to most everything. And it applies here as well. So just knowing that what is different about me has a name suddenly allows me to be able to have some control over my life. Whereas before, I always felt like I was completely out of control. So it gave me a starting point to know where to go find other people who are like me, how to find others who can explain what is happening to me and why I'm different. It just to let me know that I'm not alone. There are others out there that are like this too, and they do just fine, and it's okay to be like this. So just having that diagnosis written down on paper, making it official, and giving me this roadmap of how to put the pieces of my life back together and to start living, that was absolutely worth it. Absolutely. I can't put a number on that. It is expensive going to get your own diagnosis. It did cost me a few $1,000s, which was a huge hardship for me at the time, but ultimately it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it. It also, just being diagnosed suddenly gave me the ability to be able to say no to people and to put down boundaries. Like, if people are like, hey, we're all going out for drinks after work, let's come with us. Before, I would have felt obligated to go, even if I really, really, really didn't want to, just because it's the right thing to do and you got to go with the crowd and all that shit. But now, knowing that I really am made different, and while for them going out after drinks and being around people is energizing for them, because that's how they get energy, is by being around other people, for me it's draining. So it's a completely different experience for me, so it's okay for me to say no to that. Just suddenly being able to put some boundaries down and to give myself self-care. That, for the first time in my life, I was able to do things that are good for me instead of constantly doing things that are bad for me, because I didn't know. I just didn't know. So there is just a whole mountain of pros, if we're looking at the pros and cons of getting diagnosed. The pros, there's a long list of them. I would absolutely say go for it. The cons are somewhat theoretical, at least in my experience, not for others, but they're very chilling. So one thing is, the world loves to flirt with eugenics. Let's just say it. There are so many people in this world that want to get rid of anybody that is considered different or disabled or less than in some way. And it's always scary to think that what if the next leader puts in some policies and starts going around and trying to get rid of disabled people or people with certain conditions. Hopefully that would never happen, but you always, I mean, the way this world is going, you always got to think that it might be a possibility. During COVID, especially during the height of COVID, I remember reading when, hospitals had like 0 or just a handful of beds left and running out of medicine and all this and that, and not knowing if it's going to get worse. And they're talking about, triaging and limiting who can get medicine, who can get a bed. And they were talking about essentially what comes down to eugenics is they would make those decisions of, if we don't deem you necessary or good enough or worthy of having that hospital bed or getting that medicine, then you're not going to get it, and you're just on your own. Maybe you die, maybe you don't, but I don't think it's terribly far-fetched to find situations where we might be deemed not worthy of saving, and that's a really scary thing. Because I think once that diagnosis is on your record, I'm pretty sure it's there forever. I don't think you can ever take it off. So that's scary to think about. In spite of that, though, I mean, I personally don't know anybody that has happened to. I'm sure it's happened to somebody. It must have. Hopefully that's not something that's going to come about in the future for us, but it is something that I'm always scared of. In spite of those fears, overall getting diagnosed was 100% worth it for me. If you are an adult considering getting your assessment to find out if this is what is going on in your life, I absolutely recommend doing it. Just to find out, just to get those answers. Just having answers is huge. It's so huge just to finally know what's going on. For me, at least, that it was totally worth it. I recommend going for that assessment if you're considering it. All right, thank you.